updates that we're getting for you. The Karnataka Health Department has flagged a carcinogen scare in Bengaluru's famous Idli. Now, out of the 250 samples that were tested, 52 were found to have been cooked using plastic sheets instead of the traditional cloth. With plastic posing serious health risks, authorities are now set to issue strict orders and take action against the violators to prevent further contamination. So imagine that you're heading out for some breakfast and this is what you end up eating. My colleague Deepak is joining us on the broadcast with the details. Deepak, where were these samples taken from? What are these restaurants and what is the action that has been initiated?
This is a very big development now, and the information that's coming in is that the health department right now has conducted a study or an investigation rather from different parts of the state. Samples of idlis were collected, and after they were collected, they've sent the same to the labs for testing because they had information that many of the restaurants were using plastic sheets. This is, of course, during the steaming process of the idli. Now, anybody, of course, familiar with idlis or would have gone to a veg restaurant here in Bengaluru would have been able to see the idli steamers, the huge ones which have, of course, multiple racks in them, and the idlis are pulled out of the trays, and then there is usually a traditional cloth that is used to place the idlis there and then to cover them. In some of the places, they were using plastic is what the information that the health department had got. Based on this information, they, went ahead and collected samples from various places, and 52 of about 251 samples that were sent for testing have been found positive for the usage of plastic. So there is going to be a crackdown that's going to begin because, the health minister himself has said plastic, of course, is known to be a possible carcinogen, and then, plastic being used in the steaming process of the idli would mean that elements of the plastic, of course, gets infused into the idli, making it so much more harmful, and therefore there will be, of course, directions that will be issued and strict regulations, of course, on what will be used during the steaming process. And right now it is, of course, being said the ideal usage, of course, is cloth or any other forms of paper like baking paper or parchment paper, which is, of course, used for baking processes and other cooking processes as well. But the concerning factor here lies that, they have found about 52 samples where plastic was being used, so definitely poses a health hazard to the people consuming the idlis in different parts of Karnataka and, of course, the capital of Bengaluru as well.
Okay, all right. So this is the ideal breakfast option for Bengalurians. You head out for a cup of coffee and some idlis and look at the health risk that it poses. This is extremely scary, the results that have been found by the Karnataka Health Department. Viewers, we also want to hear from you if you've had a similar experience of a scare in any of the restaurants or do you want to flag any of these issues. You can call us on the numbers that are flashing at the bottom of your screens. Deepak, this was a check that was conducted by the Karnataka Health Department. Was it a random check that was conducted, and now that the carcinogen scare has been flagged in a few of the outlets, what is the action that is being initiated?
Well, we've just heard from the health minister a few minutes ago where he has confirmed that, action will be taken, strict action in fact will be taken, and more importantly, we are expecting a official circular of sorts to be issued from the health department, which would of course have directions that the health department will have for eateries, cafes or restaurants which of course cook idli or anything else for that matter. It is not just going to be idli, it's probably what I'm learning from my sources is that they could have the circular which could ban the use of plastic in any form of cooking process, so that to ensure that there are no carcinogens in any of the food products being sold at these restaurants. In the past in Bengaluru, we should note that there have been, of course, similar steps that were taken to ensure there are no safety concerns as far as people consuming food, be it the ban of using color in chicken kebabs or even the famous gobi manchurian in Bengaluru, to even the pink cotton candy, the pink color itself was banned. Many of them were not allowed to use that because they found that many of the coloring agents that were being used were carcinogenic in nature. Now this, of course, is the latest crackdown. This is use of plastic during the cooking process of the idli, which has raised concerns, where they have sent about 251 samples for testing, 52 of them, of course, turning out to be positive for the usage of plastic in the state of Karnataka.
Okay, so usage of plastic in the food, so it has carcinogens, which is harmful and can even cause cancer. Imagine the scare. You just head out for breakfast and your health is at risk. We have our viewer joining us, Mr. Satish, joining us from Mumbai. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Satish, what are your concerns?
Yes, see, my concern, let me tell you, it is not only Karnataka. My view that in the entire country, majority of these outlets, like, whatever South Indian restaurants are, they don't follow any procedures, and the biggest problem
or any
is
restaurant
the FDA,
for that matter, isn't it?
Pardon me?
Any restaurant. There have been so many restaurants that have been the target of these health checks, and there have been these concerns after which there's no action taken. Yes.
No, forget about action. There is no vigilance from the government side or from the FDA department. And it is such a tragic. I keep complaining in Bombay, but nobody bothers even to look at that. And the restaurant owners are so arrogant because they give corruption. Corruption is another big problem in this country, unfortunately.
Okay, so you're saying that you have also raised several concerns in Mumbai, but nothing was done about it.
Nothing, people, and then our people are also, they patronize the people on the road, hawkers and everything. Now, who cares who falls sick and all that? I, for myself, I don't eat outside. But what about the millions of people who are eating outside? They have to eat because there are people who come from outside, there is always what you can say, people travel from one city to other city, students come for. So, it is very difficult, but government norms should be so strict that they should really keep vigilant. That's my personal view on this. This idli, so they prepare one day in advance and keep it in deep freezer, and then they warm it and give it. This is the kind of thing, it goes everywhere.
Okay, all right. Thank you for joining us. In fact, that's the reason why we are also raising concerns over the same. In the fast-paced schedule, it becomes a lot easier to eat outside, but are you risking your health by eating out? Look at the revelations that have come in from Karnataka. We have Narendra joining us from Bengaluru. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Narendra. Do you have similar concerns? I'm sure while eating out, you may have also had similar experiences of concerns of the health risks that it possesses. Okay, all right. We're not able to hear you, Mr. Narendra. We'll try and reconnect that line. But let me also introduce Dr. Swati Maheshwari, who's joining us on the broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Very, very concerning reports that have come in from Karnataka. Dr. Swati, I'm sure not the first time, but the Karnataka Health Department has flagged carcinogen scare in 250 samples of idlis taken across Bengaluru. What kind of a health risk does it have? What are the things that the consumer should be aware of?
It's a very
Okay, all right. We seem to be facing technical difficulties. My apologies. Dr. Swati will try and reconnect that line with you. But let's tell our viewers what the findings are from Bengaluru. There were 250 samples that were tested. These were all idlis, and 52 of them were found to have been cooked using plastic sheets. Can you believe it? So instead of the traditional cloth that is used for the same, plastic had been used. So this had carcinogen, which poses a serious risk. It could even cause cancer. Dr. Swati, back with us. Yes, Dr. Swati, go on.
Yeah, I would say it's very, very disturbing, and quite concerning as well, because last few years we have seen a lot of studies coming out which have very clearly stated that these microplastics, they leach into our food, they leach into our water, the air that we breathe in, and they have found place in our brain, in our lungs, in all the various organs that are there. And a lot of problems have been arising out of these. Studies have clearly indicated, be it cancer-causing potential of these plastics, with a lot of hormonal imbalance, even infertility, diabetes, immune problems. All this is kind of coming out because of the microplastics, and you'll be shocked to hear this, that even we have seen these plastics in a newborn baby, that is a fetus that is born. The microplastic seeps from the pregnant female, from the mother to the child. And this is now very, very concerning because it flows in our blood, it kind of gets into our organs, and there it causes a lot of problems with the organs because their function gets affected. So it's quite something that we should be very, very careful of. And now I think the authorities should be very careful of, and they should do more and more screening of such, food items that are there in the community, because a lot of people now, to save their money, are cutting corners, and they are using wrong things, and especially plastics is being heavily heavily used, which should not be used, especially when it comes to our food. That is something very, very essential. And, over the time, it's seen that the kids, they'll be suffering with more obesity, metabolic disorders, and even it can cause memory loss, headaches, cognitive decline. So that is something which our children are also getting exposed to. We are also getting exposed to, and therefore the entire generation is, the coming generations are getting affected, and therefore it is high time that we, take it very, very seriously. And I think even people, as you said, the consumers, one, they should be careful of as to where you are consuming all these food items, whether they are good places or not. You need to ensure that hygiene and all such things are looked after.
Yes.
Secondly, in our house also, we can use more of glass, stainless steel, ceramic food items, food utensils instead of plastic items that we use. And the plastic bottles that we keep in the cars for drinking water, those are also very, very harmful because, because of the sunlight, a lot of substances are released from the plastic bottles and they reach our system, and therefore they also cause a lot of issues.
Okay, all right. So we're looking at the risks that it possesses. It can have a long-term impact as well. I request you to stay with us. We have more updates coming in.